stories. What's a crazy story you've been wanting to tell, but there's never been a thread specific enough for it? Not really the craziest, but this my absolute favorite story in the world, and it's 100% true. I've got 3 cousins who are birth siblings and were adopted by my aunt and uncle 20 some odd years ago. The oldest boy was maybe 6 at the time and the 2 younger sisters were maybe 3 and 4. They had just moved in, and my aunt and uncle wanted to introduce them to some kids in the neighborhood from the Cook family down the street, so they set up a dinner date on the calendar. The oldest is just learning how to read and is the newest to the house, so he gets his sisters to pack their toys and they get caught trying to sneak out of the house. My aunt, who at this point is still a strange old lady these kids just moved in with, asks them why they're leaving, and the oldest asks her, "Why does the calendar say cook kids for dinner?" I can't imagine the fear 6-year-old me would have felt if my new mom had that written on her calendar, but the story is just so damn cute for some reason. When my best friend came out to me, before I could say anything I projectile vomited. Not once, but twice. Right after she said the words "I'm gay." Luckily it didn't land on her, but it was pretty messy. She assumed this was me showing my disapproval, ran out of my house crying and went home. So here I am, with an upset best friend who thinks I don't love her anymore because she's gay, covered in my own vomit which is also covering my kitchen floor, and enough nausea to take down a horse. Not to mention horrific guilt for upsetting my friend. I cleaned myself and kitchen floor up and attempted to call her. No answer. I took some nausea medication and took a nap to see if the nausea would subside. I wake up 12 hours later and you guessed it, covered in my own vomit. Again. I went to the doctor and apparently had a really severe stomach virus. She prescribed me some meds and I was fine. I called my best friend again and she finally answered. I explained to her that I was totally fine with her being gay and was 100% supportive of her. I explained the stomach virus situation and told her I had directions on how to take care of myself to prove it. 2 years later we are still best friends, and now we love to laugh about my projectile vomiting. Got to love timing. Ha ha ha. That's seriously like something out of a sitcom or a movie. Glad you were able to sort it out with her. This is the first time I ejaculated. I was 13. I was at summer camp. I was wearing jorts, as was the style at the time. We were doing the indoor rock climbing wall, and I was about halfway up when my partner who was belaying me asked if she could tie me off so she could go to the bathroom. So I'm swinging back and forth up there in those really tight rock climbing harnesses over jorts, and then there was friction. Barely had time to process what was happening before my balls felt like they were sneezing, and then it was over. The harness never returned my phone calls though. Jorts were in style once. Curse my late birth. Oh what a time it was. I remember getting so mad of getting made fun of for wearing them in college lol. My dad was a bouncer in the early 80s and was working in New Hampshire at a bar near a ski lodge. These 6 townies come in and within an hour start a fight with all the bouncers. They throw them out and are doing a head count and realize my dad is not there. They look outside and he's fighting 4 of them while 2 try to keep the door shut. The other bouncers get outside and they are fighting for like 45 minutes until the cops show up. The fight was so long my dad said he knocked out the same guy twice. The fight was so long my dad said he knocked out the same guy twice. That is a brilliant closing line, my god. There is a question at the moment about crazy bouncer/bar stories. You should submit it to that also. A Nation guy came into Target on Black Friday. He asked for an iPad, any kind. So I grabbed him one. My coworker Brad walks by with a crate of iPads. The Asian fellow asks for the entire crate. He wanted as many iPads as we could give him. Our app guy wasn't there, and the manager said there was no limit, so I ended up selling him roughly $10,000 worth of iPads. Each came with a gift card for Target relative to their price. The $500 had a $140 gift card and so on. He ended up paying $9,500 of them with gift cards he already had, only spending $500 or so on them while getting a ridiculous amount of gift cards back. Who has $9,500 of gift cards lying around? I was baked and singing karaoke when a fight broke out. I had sung karaoke before but only a handful of times. I also chose songs that were more talking with style than actual singing. All through my first song, we didn't start the fire. The little thing that bobs along to the words was like half a beat off, so I was second guessing myself the whole time. In spite of that, I decided I would do actual singing. I submitted round here by the Counting Crows. First off, not a good karaoke choice. Not very upbeat or well known enough to make up for that. Second, I was baked. Had never been in that state while singing to a room full of people. Third, the bar was a hole. I have a theory that bars only allow karaoke when their balls are an inch from the bandsaw. It's a last ditch effort to remain solvent. So I'm up there, emoting, she wants to meet a boy who looks like Elvis, when I hear this smash. Some lady broke a beer mug over some guy's head. They're rolling around on the floor like 10 feet away from me. I have no idea what to do. So I keep singing. More people jump on the dog pile, trying to separate the two. There's like 10 people in there. And through it all I'm just tenderly serenading the bar with this song. This goes on for a while. Screaming, feeble and desperate attempts to swing at each other with people trying to hold them back, and me trying my best to keep it together. The DJ cuts me off right at the good part, very late. Turns out he was also the bouncer, and was one of the first to dive right in. He asks if I want to start over. I say no. How are you supposed to top that? Hey, you provided appropriate fightin' music in the background. Good for you. Street Fighting Man, Rolling Stones, GC Voon. I was baked and singing karaoke when a fight broke out. I can imagine this being the first sentence of a classic novel. Over the summer, the pool that I work at hired most of the lifeguards as maintenance workers for the pool painting project that had been put off for years. We had to wear face masks, made us all look like Bane. It was cool because of the paint fumes. A couple weeks into the project, we all took our lunch break in the main office / in trance. Because we are all slobby, lazy Fs, the trash can is overflowing and no one wants to take it out to the dumpster. So we call one of the newer lifeguards, B, who is constantly forgetting about shifts and showing up late despite living about a block away. We call him and ask him where the F he is and if he knew about his shift that started just now. Even though the pool has been closed for weeks, B falls for it and says he'll be there in 5. There are about 7 of us in the office. We all get up on desks and counters and do this weird perch squat thing. Some of us have our masks on. One lifeguard, S, is up on the counter next to the door and is right about face level with anyone who would happen to walk in. B should show up any second now. Everyone is giggling a little bit. The door starts to open. S is making a weird ass croaking noise and slowly begins to lean in towards who he quickly realizes is not B at all, but some poor old man who just happened to wander in. This guy stares at us. I just need a schedule. We give him a schedule and apologize. He laughs nervously and leaves pretty quickly. By the time B shows up, we are all crying on the floor. He takes out the trash, calls us mean names, and ends up staying to work. My favorite memory from work by far. Last year I was put into a class with a guy that was, shall we say, an egg or two short of a dozen. Quite a nice dude nonetheless. When he wasn't being a wacky bastard you could have a reasonable conversation with him without any problems. Authority didn't really appeal to him at all. He would rock into class with a portable external hard drive with a load of video games on it, iPointy Doom, Tomb Raider and more, and just sit there playing them. If a teacher asked him to stop, he would for a little bit then just resume playing. The guy was a real nerd I guess, which was strange, because he came from an area that was renowned for being quite rough, and he would be really out of place there. There were a few instances throughout the year of just sheer madness on his part. During one class, we were asked to present a presentation on the impact of it on society or something to that effect. It gets to his turn. He fires up the presentation and gets going. Some of the other guys in the class were talking to each other while he was up there, and at one point one of them tried to get the other's attention by waving his arm in the air. For whatever reason this guy, let's call him Bob, decides it would be nothing but appropriate to stop the presentation and call this guy out. Fair enough, he was being rude and not paying attention to him. But Bob interprets the wave as an artsy salute, asks the guy what the F were you doing there? Heil Hitler or some shite, and throws out a salute of his own. Our teacher was a pretty strict black woman. No one knows how to react. Dead silence. She, seemingly unfazed by this little skit, just asks him to carry on. Another time, we are in a class with this teacher, who could be described as a perfect stereotype of the awkward uncle who always tells bad jokes. We get in and this class is no different, but this is Bob's first time in this class. After the teacher finished telling another of his awful jokes, Bob turns around from his game of Dim, gets the teacher's attention, and says, "What do you call a Japanese pedophile? FM young." Again, dead silence. The teacher acts as though he didn't hear it and carries on the class as normal. As soon as we got out, everyone bursts out laughing and asking the guy why he thought that joke would be appropriate, to which he just responds, "Meh, I think it was funny." There were lots of other little instances like these scattered throughout the year, and by the end we all loved him and were sad to see him go. The course only lasted a year, and he told us he wouldn't be returning to do any more courses. He was like 21, and it turned out he had been there doing courses similar to the one we did for the previous 3 years or something, and all the teachers had grown familiar with his antics, which is why they all responded so calmly and never gave him any shit for it. I really do miss Bob. On top of all the funny weird shit he did, he was a nice dude too. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe for daily Reddit madness.